We have the tech to get food delivered in 15 minutes, but we all have horror stories about buying tickets. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage. Get amazing tickets in just a few taps. Fees are included, so what you see is what you pay. And the Game Time guarantee means authentic tickets at the best price every time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to concerts, sports, comedy, and more with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.
This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
All right, everybody, hour two, this Tuesday edition of Money Moves, VSiN, the sports betting network, coming at you from cross country today. We're coast to coast. Stormy Buonantony down here in downtown Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino, as always. John Jastremski joining from the Big Apple. JJ, we got a lot to get to this hour coming up. Plenty of National Football League discussion, including a breakdown of quarterback depth charts, why it's important, what you need to know for the NFL preseason and as the season goes on. We'll also get into plenty of Major League Baseball, 15-game slate coming up today, some futures markets that could be on the move depending on how some of these things go today. But we are kicking things off the way we have been for the last couple of weeks with our NFL training camp tour. Roll it.
Join Stormy and JBT as they go on the Money Moves NFL training camp tour.
JBT will be back tomorrow, okay? I'm telling you, we need a new intro for you, JJ. Today, we are headed out to Bengals country.
I was going to say this graphic, by the way, Stormy, that they have up with you and JVT is awesome. I've been lucky enough to I've never gotten picked up in the sports car, Circa sports car. But when I did stay last year for Super Bowl weekend, they sent the big limo for me. I've never felt like more of a baller than getting picked up from McCarran, rolling into that
Hell
limo.
yeah.
I'm like, wow, I'm like, it's 9 o'clock in the morning. I really shouldn't be having a drink right now, but kind of got to do it. When do I not, So I need that limo in my life at some point in time. So well played.
Unbelievable. I'm here for it. And yeah, missed opportunity by us. We should have had the car, have the route diverted to New York, pick you up, and then superimpose your head on JVT in the graphic. Like, that was a missed opportunity by me. I need to be more forward thinking. Today, time to go to Cincinnati. We're going to talk about the Bengals, and it is a team where with Joe Burrow coming back healthy, all of a sudden there is all the expectations in the world yet again for what Cincinnati is going to be able to do. The question basically every year I feel like that Joe Burrow has been in the National Football League. Is he going to stay healthy, and is he going to get any defensive support? The defense should be better this year. He looks good coming into camp. What's your big picture thought on Cincinnati?
So I have to admit, Stormy, a year ago, I was so out on the Cincinnati Bengals because of concerns about Joe Burrow, concerns about his offensive line, concerns about his defense, and all of that was validated because their season was basically dead on arrival when he had that turf toe injury that was significant. He needed surgery. He missed multiple months, and too little, too late, whatever you want to call it. Cincinnati was dead and buried. This year, however, Stormy, I am way more glass half full. I am way more optimistic on Cincinnati this season. First of all, they are bound to get some better luck when it comes to their quarterback and his durability status. I don't anticipate living in a world where Joe Burrow is going to play 4 or 5 games this year. I think he's going to play a lot more than that. Their defense should be significantly improved. People are going to say, well, you lost Trey Hendrickson. That is a big loss. However, one of the major issues the Bengals have run into is that they cannot stop the run. They are now bringing in one of the premier run stoppers and one of the premier defensive tackles that the sport has to offer in Dexter Lawrence. I think he's going to plug some major gaps in that defense. He's going to be durable. He's going to be able to play. I think you get better defensive play out of the Bengals. I love the weaponry they have. Listen, Chase and Higgins is as good a 1-2 punch at receiver as you're going to find in the league. I like Chase Brown. I thought he really came on if you look over the last 5 or 6 weeks of the year. And for those that play fantasy football, you know exactly what I'm talking about. He had some monster games. And I'm of the belief if Joe Burrow plays, this is an 11-win football team. And I didn't mention, Stormy, schedule conducive. They get in the third place schedule. The AFC North, okay, you have Baltimore. I'm not a big believer in the Steelers. I know you're very out on the Cleveland Browns. I think they're going to be able to take care of business in that division. You split with Baltimore. You take care of a schedule that features the NFC South. Sign me up. I think there are a whole lot of wins there. I think Cincinnati will absolutely be a playoff team this year. I like their over 10.5.
The Ravens, to your point, like as good as we think they can be, still going through a lot of change too, right? With a new offensive system and a new head coach. The Steelers, to your point, like not anything to write home about. Don't like the Browns. I think there's a lot of opportunity for this Bengals team if, again, all these things come together. Joe Burrow stays healthy and the defense is better. Hell, I was looking through some numbers from the 2024 season when Burrow played the full complement of games. They lost 6 games, JJ, scoring 25 or more points. 4 of those games, they scored 33 plus. You can't lose those games. And I don't think that's going to happen with the way that this defense has been revamped. They're in win now mode. You mentioned Dexter Lawrence as obviously a key piece of that, but Jonathan Allen, they signed Boye Mafe in free agency to help off the edge. You draft Cassius Howell, who's NFL ready. You end up getting some good news on Shamar Stewart because that was a concern when you saw him go down the first day of camp, ended up just being a hyperextended knee. So he's going to be back sooner rather than later. There is so much reason for optimism with this team in our NFL betting guide, which is out now, vsin.com/subscribe. If you want to come join us on the full-time basis, you get unlimited access to everything, the website, but you also get our betting guides for not only the NFL, college football, every season that comes up as it does throughout the course of the year. But in that, the Bengals, I took them over the 10.5 win total at a plus money price. I took them to win the division. I hope that I am not delirious in my love for what Joe Burrow and this team can be if he's healthy. They can outscore anybody if they get a little bit of help on defense, and they should be so much better on that side of the ball. And to your point about the offensive line, too, this is going to be the best offensive line that Joe Burrow has ever played behind since he's been in the NFL.
Stormy, I know you mentioned the win total, and I know you mentioned you like them over Baltimore to go win the AFC North at plus 184. I think you got to go all in at this point. I think you got to take Cincinnati to go win a Super Bowl at 20-1.
Super Bowl? Oh.
If you're that committed,
it's a good number.
It's a good number, and you have pedigree with a quarterback that's won in some really tough environments. How many quarterbacks in the AFC have beaten Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes in playoff games in their building? Joe Burrow smoked Josh Allen in the divisional round a couple years ago and had one of the crazier comebacks you're ever going to see in an AFC title game back in 2021. So I like the idea. Even if Joe Burrow's a 5 or a 6 seed, I feel pretty good about my chances that he can go on the road and win in some hostile environments. I think 20-1 is a ticket I'd like to have in my portfolio. I think the Bengals are a legit Super Bowl contender.
Maybe you're right, and I do just need to add it. And again, to go back to the schedule, it is the 3rd easiest over strength of schedule based on opponent win total and last year's opponent win-loss record as well. So any way you look at it, it is a significantly easier schedule than they faced. I like everything about Cincinnati. So if I like them to do what I expect them to do in the regular season, why wouldn't I to go the distance? So 20-1 for the Super Bowl. Joe Burrow MVP plus 850, 3rd shot on the board behind Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. Would he be somebody that you would look at in the awards market if all of these things come up the way we expect? Would you look at him for most passing yards or any of those other season-long props? Any other betting angles you can see on Burrow or Cincinnati?
So because of the fact that Cincinnati wants to establish the run a little bit more, as appealing as it may be to look at Chase and Higgins and the way they played in 24 and say, oh, well, Joe Burrow is just going to have the most gaudy and most insane quarterback numbers. Maybe an improved defense and an improved running game takes away from the passing yards. But if they go and win, I don't know, 12 or 13 games, he's going to be in the MVP conversation. Yeah. So I would much prefer to go and grab that plus 850. Now, there is a quarterback I am going to be playing for MVP that I like a little bit more in the NFC. But out of the favorites, which I believe, Stormy, I don't have in front of me, Josh is number 1, Lamar is number 2, correct?
Yes.
Okay, out of the big 3, I like the Burrow number the best, comparing him to Josh, comparing him to Lamar, because there could be some voter fatigue with Lamar as well, multiple MVPs. Josh, listen, the team around him, there are questions. But I think with their schedule, it's going to be hard for Buffalo to go and win 12, 13 games. I think Cincinnati's better set up to do so. The other MVP bet I would make, I've told you this, and I know the Cowboy hater is probably laughing right now saying, JJ, I can't believe you're getting on board with this team. How are you going to be silly enough to get on board with this team? I think Dak's going to put up crazy numbers again in their system. I like taking a flyer on Prescott to go and win the MVP. If Dallas has the year that I think they're going to have.
What? Hold on. Let me pull that up where Dak is at. Oh, I literally just X'd out of it. Dak is 14-1. He's also plus 750 to have the most passing yards in the NFL this year. That's a market that I'm pretty interested in too. But I don't get the Dak and Cowboys overall hate that there is out there, because I truly think, and I said this yesterday, I think of the Cowboys and Bengals as very, very similarly, right? The offense is going to be awesome. If your quarterback stays healthy, you have everything potentially in front of you, whether it be win total, division, playoffs. I know that the Cowboys haven't done it in 20 plus years, but why wouldn't you think that this iteration and this unit, given the success that he's capable of, like, why wouldn't you be interested in them? Just because somebody hasn't done something doesn't mean that they won't ever, right? Like, look at Indiana. Nobody's talking
Stormy,
about them ever for a national championship. Yeah, exactly.
Right? The Knicks never won a championship in my lifetime. 53 years. It can happen. But I get some of the narratives. And listen, I think as far as the hate, I just think because of the fact that Cowboys get shoved in everybody's face because they're America's team, because they play all these primetime games, and, you know, they go back to the 90s Cowboys, or if you even want to go back to the America's team, Roger Staubach Cowboys, like, there's just Cowboy haters out there. So they take great satisfaction in the fact that they have not been in a conference championship game since 1996. It's been a long time coming.
Fun fact about me, JJ, the Cowboys were the first team that I learned to hate in my youth, because my dad had a checkerboard set that was the helmets, and it was 49ers versus Cowboys helmets, and it was punishment for me if I had to be the Cowboys.
Yeah, I was going to say, in a Niners household, that must have been tough. Somebody's got to play as the Cowboys? Damn, Stormy.
Yeah, it was like if I was in trouble, or if Big Brother got to step up and make the rules for a day, I had to be relegated to Dallas, and it was a brutal time for a young 49ers fan. Okay, we got to step aside. You hear that music? When we come back, more football talk coming up. Very curious to hear JJ's thoughts on betting preseason football and some news and notes you need to know before you do. We'll be right back.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
The Circus Survivor documentary is heating up, and tomorrow's episode is called Survival Mode. Week 10 arrives like a wrecking ball, a massive wave of eliminations tearing through the field, and the players who thought they had it all figured out, suddenly not so much. Thanksgiving's on the horizon, and the wrong call won't just cost the contestants a game, it'll cost them everything, with $18.7 million on the line. Watch the next episode coming up tomorrow at 9 Eastern right here on VSiN. And if you want to play catch up or binge watch all the episodes that are out so far, head over to YouTube, search VSiN Live. We were actually, Stormy Buonantony, JJ with you, John Jastremski, we were talking in a commercial break a little while ago about that Bills-Miami game as one of the survivor losses that you had. I was commiserating about my 49ers loss on Thursday night when they were just a depleted, injury-riddled team. LA had every opportunity to beat San Francisco, couldn't do it. That was a killer. But week 10 in particular, yeah, I'm excited to see that episode tomorrow because it was ridiculous.
Yeah, and Stormy, I can't say it was my entry because I got bounced way too early. Like, I wish I actually made it to week 10. But I had a buddy of mine who I was, consulting, and he asked my quote-unquote expert opinion on the Bills and the Dolphins, and I gave him the history of that. You know, I think Miami had beaten Buffalo once at home in the last 8 or 9 years, and it's been, a total lost cause against Josh Allen. I'm like, I don't care if it's a hangover game. The Dolphins stink. They're not beating the Bills, and it's 16-0 Miami, early in the fourth quarter. And there was a lot of language used in text messages that I can't share here on the VSiN airwaves. I don't want to get in trouble.
Okay, is that not the worst though? When you're out of it and somebody is coming to like ask you your opinion on something, and you're like, dude, it's your opinion, it's your money, it's your thing. Like I hate that pressure of somebody asking me when I'm like, I'm not in it anymore. You don't want my opinion.
Hey, listen, that's a great point. But I think it came down to the Dolphin. It was more the Dolphin side of things, not necessarily the survivor element of it. Like, Stormy, we were saying in the commercial, like, can I make it to Halloween? Like, I'm not even asking too much. Like, can I at least be, like, fantasizing over the possibility as, like, the temperature drops in New York and the leaves are starting to change? Like, normally it's, like, not even the baseball playoffs, and I'm getting knocked out of the Survivor. So let's make it to Halloween. That's my goal.
That's actually something that kills me about the documentary. And I love the crew. They're amazing people to work with, but they keep interviewing me as part of like one of our VSiN representative and experts and people that are previewing the games the way that we do from an odds perspective, that I'm like, I have been out of it since week 5. I don't want to talk about this anymore. It's depressing to me, but it is so much fun when you do go far. The farthest I've gone is week 11. So hoping to go the distance, obviously, this year. My dad and I are doing our sign up coming up in 2 weeks. So very excited to get in there. Not quite as life and death, JJ. Preseason football, which we are about 48 hours away from week 1 in earnest, beginning on Thursday. Very curious, like your perspective on preseason football.
I don't take much into it. I don't, because I think these teams now, Stormy, treat these scrimmages and these joint practices where you got already guys on the Jets and the Buccaneers going for blows way more seriously than the preseason games. These teams just don't care.
Real quickly, JJ, to follow up on that thought, because I love it. Yes, the Jets and Bucks, one of, I think, five sets of teams today that are doing joint practices, getting that started. Breece Hall, when that fight broke out, said, quote, I have a rule. If you're over 240, I ain't messing with you. If I see a fight happen, that's my water break. And that is just absolutely the right mentality. I'm with you, Breece.
Yeah, that's the right mentality. 240, it would be like more like 130 for me, 120. I think that'd be my rule. Or none. I see anybody coming at me, I'm running for water. I'm good.
I hear you. My thing about preseason, and like, it kills me a little bit when people really disparage it and say, like, I mean, we already heard around the Hall of Fame game, right? All of the tweets and videos of people saying, like, you should seek help if you're betting the Hall of Fame game, and you, like, really need to reassess your priorities. If you claim to be locked in on the preseason, you're lying. I say you shut your mouth when you're talking to me, because I absolutely love the NFL preseason, and I think that there are a lot of potential opportunities if you're doing the research and listening to press conferences and doing your due diligence, following beat writers and people that are at these practices every day, to potentially not necessarily find an edge or advantage, but be like, have an ability and an angle to bet a game just like you would in the NFL regular season. One thing that you get better than the NFL regular season is coaches actually coming out and telling you the plan and telling you if they're going to use their starters or not, for how long are they going to use those guys. Is it select guys? Like, there are elements to this thing that I think have betting capabilities that can be in a positive way. And listen, not every preseason is going to go your way, but I don't think it's something you can just look at somebody and say it's stupid to bet the NFL preseason. I think you're stupid if you think that. Not you, JJ. Not you. I know. We're going to get you on board. You're going to bet the NFL preseason.
All right. So a couple of things here. One, I've never bet an NFL preseason game in my life.
This is the year.
Somebody that's betting. I was going to say, doing these shows at VSiN, hanging with you guys and gals, I feel like you guys are rubbing off on me. But I think you delivered a very nuanced take on the preseason. There are absolutely angles you can bet on if you're doing your homework and you're doing your due diligence. The problem is, Stormy, sometimes these coaches can be truthful, and other times they can be not so truthful. And I've just always found myself in a position where I'm like, okay, the minute Labor Day weekend hits, I'm going to be locked and loaded every week, ba-boom, 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 that I'm kind of in the mindset of, hey, let me just skate through August, enjoy a little R&R time, still bet my baseball. And then once like that Thursday and Saturday and Sunday college football roll around, I will be ready. Maybe there will be a dabble spot for me here or there, but I can guarantee this. I will not fall in love with betting the NFL preseason. There's that. And I do have to challenge one element of your nuance take. and it was very nuanced. I want to give you credit. You don't honestly love the preseason in the NFL. You don't love it.
I love watching the 49ers preseason games because I learn more about my team. But JJ,
okay, all right,
were we not sharing the text message yesterday about the front office sports report that showed the Hall of Fame game last week had 7 million viewers, which was more than any Major League Baseball game this season, and even the Stanley Cup, which, by the way, as an NHL reporter, just like cripples my heart. Neither here nor there.
That breaks your heart. Yeah, of course. Yes.
But it just tells you, like, people are starving for football. We're going to watch it. And in my case, we're going to bet it. And so one thing I'll follow up on this is, if you go to vsin.com right now, our own Matt Humans has a great article up kind of detailing some of the different approaches you can have to the NFL preseason, the importance of looking at the quarterback depth and quarterback rotation, head coach care factor as an element as well. And again, like I mentioned, like coaches actually giving you a little bit of an idea of what the script is going to be, who's going to do what. Speaking of which, we do have a couple lines that have been on the move for preseason week 1 already. Some sharp money coming in on the Bengals, who we just talked about at length for their season preview. But for week 1 of the preseason against the Detroit Lions, they go up from about 3.5 to 7-point favorites in favor of Cincinnati. Total up from 37.5 to 38.5. Zach Taylor said, while not every starter is going to be out there on the field Thursday, there are some guys that are a little banged up. They just want to make sure we're ready for week 1. You're going to see Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Dexter Lawrence, your big stars. You're going to see those faces. How long remains to be seen, likely just a drive or two. But look at the depth there at quarterback, right? You have Joe Burrow, you have Joe Flacco. After that, Josh Johnson, Sean Clifford, former Penn State guy, by the way. But Taylor has said, and it started last year, he wants to do more in preseason games to get his team ready for week 1. Meanwhile, on the other side with the Lions, Dan Campbell has already indicated most of his starters will not play in the preseason. So maybe like a first quarter, first half bet could be an angle that you want to look at here. Also, the Lions quarterback room. Initially, you thought Teddy Bridgewater was going to be out there. He just retired this week. So that depth chart's looking a little bit different.
Means you're going to see a whole lot of Joshua Dobbs for Detroit. Yeah. That's what you got to really identify in these preseason games. Like if you're betting first half totals, who are the backup quarterbacks? Do these guys traditionally play well in the preseason? Like these are all elements that you can have a little bit of fun with. And I don't know about you, Stormy. I feel like I would want to focus on guys that are in competitions because in theory, they have every reason to go and show up and play their very best. So keep an eye on that Cleveland quarterback competition. If there was going to be a competition in Minnesota, there is not now with Kyler Murray and J.J. McCarthy. That would have been worth watching. So you're already like planting the seed of me thinking about firing on a preseason game here or there. But I do want to clarify. You love your husband. You love your job. You love the Niners. You don't love preseason football.
I have an affinity for.
You like. It's cool. You're casual. Casual.
Hey, real quick, speaking of that Browns quarterback competition, I think that is a potential opportunity on Saturday against the Bears. We talked yesterday a lot about that depleted secondary, all the injuries they have. Maybe Chicago's going to be a little bit careful. Meanwhile, Cleveland, probably a little bit more important offensively for them to get in a bit of a rhythm. So 1.5-point favorite in Chicago coming up Saturday for the Browns. Just saying. Could be worth a look, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, we got to step aside here on Money Moves. Plenty more to discuss. A sport that you actually love in Major League Baseball. Coming up after this, we got a 15-game slate ahead of us.
I love football, just not preseason.
Yeah. You're hurting me. Not as much as the Hall of Fame game ratings, but hurting me nonetheless. We'll be right back.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Football season is almost here, and we're in full swing of Major League Baseball. With that, you know the sharp money is moving, and here's how the sharp plays sees it first. Exclusive data feeds from 4 major sports books, thousands of sharp bettors and professional syndicates tracked in real time before the market moves, all of it filtered and sorted as well by version 6.0 of their AI model. That's a machine. Now the receipts, every play logged, every result public, records back to 2011, live log since 2021, and all of it feeds a live performance terminal. Check it out. out anytime. No login, no paywall, no steam chasing, no stale trends either, or recycled plays. Follow the Sharp Money at sharpplays.com. That's sharpplays.com. Stormy Buonantony and John Jastremski back here on Money Moves. Let's get into a little Major League Baseball because we talked a little bit about this, kind of, like, not nearly enough, in my opinion. So real quickly, the Cy Young market, based on how a couple games go today, could be on the move yet again, one of which a game that you have bet with the Red Sox and Toronto Blue Jays. And, I mean, considering the National League, Jacob Mizorowski is minus 525 right now to close that out. There is a little intrigue. We'll get to that in a moment. But the AL is more interesting with Cease and your boy Cam Schlittler going head-to-head. Today specifically, if Cease has a big day, don't you think he's going to go back to odds-on now as the two of them have been kind of toggling back and forth?
Perhaps, but I also think you could see Cam Schlittler the next time he's out there, Stormy. If he goes and gives you 7, 1 run, 10 strikeouts like he did against the Atlanta Braves, kind of that pendulum swinging back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's literally a 2-horse race. I can't see any way somebody other than Cam Schlittler or Dylan Cease goes and wins the award. And I think the fear a lot of people have in looking at Cam Schlittler and saying, oh, this is why he's not going to win it, is because, hey, this is his first full season of being a big league starter. He got called up in late July last year. And I think there's some folks who think he's going to like fall off a cliff, that like, hey, Yankees are going to try to limit his workload. They're going to be thinking about the playoffs. And that's where he can go and lose to Cy Young. My counter would be he's going to be pitching in a whole lot of big games over the next 2 months of the year where I think he can go and showcase himself. Big start against the Red Sox, a big start against the Rays, where it's like, hey, Dylan Cease is kind of playing out the string. Wow, did you see what Schlittler did against the Red Sox? You see that performance? Like, in the eyes of the voter, I wonder if that can kind of push him over the top. So I think it's a straight coin flip. I really do. I think Cease, Schlittler, the numbers are comparable, but a big finish from Schlittler, think could be the difference in getting him his first ever Cy Young.
So I guess the reason I bring this up today specifically is that if you, like you said, it's a coin flip, right? We anticipate, I mean, look at the odds. One of these two guys is going to win it with less than 2 months to go now in the MLB regular season. If you like one of these guys, if you like Cease in particular, you should probably bet him right now. You would imagine, if you expect he's going to do what he's already done against Boston this season. He had a 12 strikeout performance earlier this year. If he has another really big day against them, get the even money while it's there, or some books, they're still like plus 105. Get that while it's there. Cam Schlittler comes down, and then if you believe in him and him having a bounce back in his next start, I mean, not bounce back, but continue the trajectory he's been on, then you're going to get a better number than the minus 125 on him. So regardless of what you're doing, you just want to get the better number in the market if you're not somebody who's already invested in it.
Totally fair. And again, now probably not the time to buy Schlittler. If you think Dylan Cease is going to get roughed up today, though, maybe you want to sit this one out and wait till his next start. So sure, there's a lot of reading those lines and reading that market and trying to correlate it to what you might see on the field later on today.
All right, on the National League side, like I said, Jacob Mizorowski, a big favorite. There was an interesting conversation, though, with Buster Olney on First Take yesterday alongside Courtney Cronin when asked about the potential fatigue for the Miz and how it might impact what's been an expected deep playoff run from Milwaukee and, of course, what he has done in an award standpoint.
Yeah, Courtney, they're very aware of his innings, his pace, and how much work he's going to have leading into the playoffs, because they lived this last year when they got to that series against the Dodgers. They basically ran out of pitching. So what Pat Murphy, the Brewers manager, told me recently was they were going to be careful with Mizorowski, and they have been in recent weeks. And think about this, okay? Yesterday, on a sleepy Sunday, dog days of August, they're facing the Minnesota Twins. He threw 50 pitches of 100-plus miles per hour. Can you imagine what it's going to be once we get to October and he's facing the Cubs or the Dodgers? I actually had a GM with another team say to me recently, he thinks that when we hit October, Mizorowski is going to hit 107 miles per hour. That's how much talent he has. Well, I mean, certainly they're going to be cognizant of the fact that they don't want to run him into the ground before the playoffs start, so they will, limit the number of pitches that he throws in his start. Maybe they skip a day, give him an extra rest as we go down the stretch. And here's the thing. I think that Brewers potentially, as long as they don't get hit by a wave of injuries, are going to be in a better position with their pitching with guys like Logan Henderson, Kyle Harrison than they were last October. But they're very cognizant of what happened.
So from an award standpoint, first, real quickly, with the idea that he's on an unofficial pitch count of sorts to limit his workload moving forward, has he done enough to have the NL Cy Young locked up, in your opinion? Again, minus 525, that number, but Chris Sale, 8-1, Christopher Sanchez, 12-1, Zach Wheeler, 20-1. Is it worthwhile to look at anybody else at this point, or is the Miz got it set?
I think, as Stevie Wonder once said, Stormy, this is signed, sealed, delivered. I think Jacob Mizorowski has been so overwhelmingly dominant from what we've seen from April now into early August that even if the Brewers want to go and limit workload and maybe he's coming out after 4 or 5 innings, maybe he's only starting once a week and they give him the Ohtani treatment, who's going and taking the award? Sale's been outstanding. He's had a real good bounce-back season. Nowhere close to Mizorowski. Christopher Sanchez was the guy that was flirting with making a play for the Cy Young, and then he had a couple of rough outings, and now he's down to 12-1. I don't think he can do enough between now and the end of the year where it's like, wow, we have to give this award to him over the Miz, because even if it's not as many dominant starts from Jacob Mizorowski, there will be enough. He's a minus 575 favorite. He's a stud. He's one of the talking points of this baseball season. He's winning the award.
As a team, plus 950, third shot on the board to win the World Series this year. The Dodgers, plus 160. Your Yankees, plus 750. Speaking of Christopher Sanchez, by the way, real quickly, minus 163 favorites. The Phillies are with him on the hill today in St. Louis, plus 152 for the Cardinals and Andre Palante. But the Brewers, big picture, like how do you view their World Series hopes? And when the big bad Dodgers are coming out of the National League, are they the best suited team to ultimately overtake them if possible?
Well, the odds would say yes, Stormy, but I have major PTSD from what I saw last year in the postseason where the Brewers looked like a team that didn't belong. They had home field advantage. They lost the first 2 games at home, and then Ohtani in Game 4 had quite possibly the greatest baseball game I've ever seen in my life, where he struck out double-digit guys. He hit 3 home runs. It was like the sort of game that you would expect from, like, the stud little leaguer, not something you would expect to see in an NLCS. But I bring all of that up because I need to see from Milwaukee against the Dodgers. The team that I actually like to match up with LA, a lot of people are going to look at the Phillies because they're going to say, hey, you have Luzardo, you have Wheeler, you have Sanchez, Duran in the 9th inning. You have a bunch of guys with pedigree and Schwarber and Harper and Arise now being in that lineup. I like the way the Braves match up with the Dodgers because they have a bunch of guys within the lineup that hit high velocity pitching. And that's what you're going to see with the Dodgers. You're throwing Yamamoto out there. You're throwing Ohtani out there. Now it's Tarek Skubal as a part of their rotation. And, you know, I know it was a long time ago. I mean, for goodness sakes, I think Freddie Freeman was on the Atlanta Braves the last time they matched up in the NLCS, and the Dodgers ended up losing to Atlanta. But there's a pedigree for some of those Atlanta players that they have beaten LA. So to me, as the dog is getting uncooperative right now as I make that point, I think the Braves are the team.
I think your dog liked the value on 10-1. It was just a dog barking a little bit, right? That you didn't want to go full steam on LA.
Yeah, it was a dog barking. You know what it is? Mom and Grandma and Ellie made their appearance back in the apartment. Maggie had to show who's boss. You know? Well,
we were joking in the commercial break that you had asked your mom like how Ellie was doing, and now you know she must be great. They're back.
They're back. They're in one piece. Correct. They are back in one piece.
The Braves, like I said, 10-1. Milwaukee plus 950. The aforementioned Phillies 18-1. And then how about the Cubs for the World Series as well? 12-1. They've got a top 5 offense in most categories, best defense in baseball, and obviously they made some key additions as well. See if they can make a little bit of a push here. I do when we come back. I know you have a play in this Yankees-Mariners game tonight, but curious, big picture, your thoughts on the Yankees from a future standpoint, because a potential like number that could be worth looking at in the division, but only if you think that they can overtake the top team in the division, which is obviously a key. But I mean, plus 275 in the American League, but 7-1 to win the AL East if they can pull ahead a little bit here in the last 6+ weeks or so. So I'll save it. We have to go to the commercial break, JJ, but I see
Quality tease. I like it, Stormy. Quality tease.
You have your hand right here on the temple. I feel like you're thinking it through. You've got a pulse on things.
I am. Just a little bit.
We'll be right back. We got best bets after this, and then, of course, JJ's thoughts on New York. Don't go anywhere.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
So a couple things here real quickly, because it is funny just how fast and furious we are getting news on a daily basis with NFL training camps underway. Today, the first day of joint practices for a handful of teams. We told you earlier with the Bucs and Jets, we saw some fights break out a little bit ago. The 49ers and Titans, I guess 4 fights broke out almost immediately at their joint practice today. Christian McCaffrey, though, while he is still not practicing due to tightness, Clint Kubiak said he's a little bit sore. Mike Evans did return to the practice field there, so at least a positive injury update for San Francisco today. Meanwhile, Todd Monken, I guess, was very animated.
Cash-in tickets is what it's all about.
Please, everyone, kill me. I can't believe I just did that. I was trying to bleep it. Hopefully, it went out nationally bleeped. But anyways, bad football. That was from
It's all
Todd
good,
Monken.
Stormy. There's way worse crimes in the world. You're good.
That was
You're
Todd
good.
Monken. It wasn't me. This is the second, JJ, I'm going to kill myself. This is the second time this has happened to me in a few months. I don't know what's wrong with me.
You know what it is, Stormy? It's this new world of media that we live in. Honestly, you can blame it on me. That's it. It's because I'm here. You blame it on me.
I was reading the quote, tried to bleep it, and then said it wrong.
You're like, you pulled the burgundy. You read what was on. You read what was on the script. It happens.
Oh my gosh. Veronica
still love
Corningstone
you.
would never. But anyways,
Never, no.
So a lot of stuff going on in the National Football League today. Of course, we also got the news earlier this morning. Kyler Murray officially QB1 out there in Minnesota. Hopefully I'm not fired. That's all I'm going to say. I'm still dwelling on it. I'm making it worse than it needs to be, but I can't help it. Anyways, let's move on from football, shall we? You had a 3-0 day yesterday with the best bets. We're going to push it forward to more today, but why don't you recap how things played out yesterday real quick?
Well, I appreciate that, Stormy. Listen, you're not going anywhere. That goes without saying. Come on now. You're a pro. You're the best. Creme de la creme. My picks, believe it or not, were creme de la creme. I'm not used to saying that after batting 1,000 on a Monday. But the Toronto Blue Jays took down the Boston Red Sox. We love that. The New York Mets, and no, Stormy, they are not my Mets, but on Monday night, they were very much my Mets, and they took down the Atlanta Braves after pounding Bryce Elder in the first inning. And I'm just so mad that I did not include Francisco Lindor as a best bet to homer yesterday because he had killer numbers against Elder. We mentioned it in the show, but I didn't feel frisky enough to go and put it in for best bets. That also ended up being a winner. And Dean Kramer got the best of the Baltimore Orioles. So we were 3-0 yesterday. So what do we have in store for an encore for the Tuesday plays? Now, the Mets were my friend. Stormy, they are now my foe. I'm on the Atlanta Braves here. I think it's a good opportunity to fade the Mets because you're going to get a little bit of a discounted line. Martin Perez on the mound against Nolan McLean. I know Nolan McLean, major stuff, major movement, very spotty, very up and down this year when a lot of people thought he was just going to be a shoo-in to be the NL Rookie of the Year. I'm on the Atlanta Braves. I'm taking them on the money line. Then it's an early game, so you got to make sure you get this one in before 7 p.m. Eastern. I like the Cleveland Guardians, who have been ice cold, to take down the Detroit Tigers for 2 main reasons. One, Cleveland, heads up, has played Detroit very, very well. Look at the regular season matchups over the last couple of years. Mr. Bybee, he's pitched great against Detroit. Look at his numbers on the road. Look at his numbers against the Tigers. We're riding that. I'm taking Cleveland, basically an even money play against a red-hot Detroit Tiger team. And then last but not least, this is a late-night special, and it just goes to show you, San Diego, if I can change, you can change, everybody can change, because I thought you guys would be sellers. I thought you guys would stink in the second half of the year. You have shut my fat, loud face up, and now I am very much on board with the Padres today with the way this line is moving against the Milwaukee Brewers. I know Walker Buehler has not been great. I know the Padre lineup doesn't exactly inspire confidence, but I think This line is a little out of whack and a little bit of a rat. Opened at 140, now down to 120, 125. Let's take the Padres to stay hot. So our 3 for Tuesday night, Stormy: Braves, Guardians, Padres. Let's make it 6-0 for Money Moves.
Hey, speaking of Ron Burgundy, you stay classy, San Diego Padres. I'm here for it. Let's go Pod Squad. I could use another dub for my guys. Not a best bet for you today, but still a team that you obviously are a fan of and you're always very invested and interested in. The Yankees hosting the Mariners today. They had the day off yesterday after taking 2 of 3 from the aforementioned Braves. Open up a 3-game set today in Seattle. Will Warren going -126 home favorites here. Bryce Miller on the other side. Run total 9. We are seeing juice to the over, though, around -120. Any immediate thoughts stand out to you? This is a TBS national game today, too, by the way.
Yeah, so the Yankees going to be on national TV, TBS Tuesday. Then they got an ESPN game on Wednesday. And here's my thought. With the run line being 8, under. I mean, Stormy, the Mariners don't score runs. They're a painful offensive team to watch. They've been one of the biggest disappointments in all of baseball. That's a team that was the second favorite in the American League behind the Yankees at the start of the year. They're now 7 games under 500. They got waxed by Tampa Bay. They don't hit. Then you look at the Yankees. They're going up against Brian Wu tonight. Wu's been disappointing with a 4.3 ERA. I feel like I've seen him go to Yankee Stadium and just shove against the Yankees. He did it last year. He did it the year before that. So I'm seeing a total. It's at 8.
Yeah.
How are these teams scoring runs? Under as far as I'm concerned with Wu and Weathers on the mound. I'm not playing the side. I don't love lane 130 with the Yankees. I just don't trust their lineup. And Seattle's due to win a game eventually. But I feel good about the fact this will be a low-scoring affair.
And forgive me, I'm a mess this segment. You're right. Yeah, Weathers and Wu today. Bryce Miller and Will Warren is the one looking ahead to tomorrow. But yes, so now let's go to the big picture question that I was asking you about New York. Do you think that they could be potentially live in the division when all is said and done? When it comes to the American League at large, plus 275, but the division, a 7-1 shot. And I mean, only 6 games back right now. Is the 6 or so weeks enough runway, you think, for New York to get a little bit deeper in that conversation for the division?
Okay, Stormy, as Yogi Berra once said, it's getting late early. You know, you'd look at a division lead of 5 or 6 games in May, and you'd say, no big deal. Ton of baseball left to be played. You're running out of games. The Yankees will have one more heads-up series with Tampa late in the year. They're going to have to go and make serious noise in that series. They also need to cut the deficit. I would say, realistically speaking, if the Yankees are going to go and win the AL East, and the prices for the division, I think Tampa's a little under 3-1 as a favorite. The Red Sox are much more in the long shot category. And I think the Yankees are right around 310, 270. I forget what it is. It's right around there. They're second on the board. I would say the Yankees probably have to get to within 3 games by Labor Day for me to be all right, they got a legit shot to do this. Because then you're dealing with the math problem. And Tampa's legit. That's what I've learned about this baseball season. They keep finding ways. They're super resourceful. They're super resilient. I think the Yankees are going to be playing in a wild card series. But we went over this before the show. If you like the Yankees to go and win the American League, you might want to go and play them to win the division. Why is that? The Yankees have never gone to a World Series, Stormy, when they've been a wild card team. Remember I said that, if indeed they fall short in the AL East this year. Usually doesn't mean good things for them come October.
Clip it, save it for moving forward. We got to save that one. And with that in mind, though, I know we brought it up briefly yesterday. You said the captain, Aaron Judge, he makes his point. He puts his foot in the ground, says, I am going to be coming back. We just don't know how soon exactly and in what capacity it's going to look like when he does return. But are you a buyer, not necessarily jumping to the market and playing plus 750 or playing whatever it is on the Yankees in the futures market, but are you a buyer at large that the Yankees are going to be there at the end of October?
So I wouldn't like their chances against the Dodgers. But as far as winning the American League, I mean, here's the better question. Who do you like in the American League? I think the value's gone with the Red Sox. That's my take on it. Tampa Bay is super spunky, but are they built to go and win in postseason with their bullpen? Do they have enough depth within their lineup. Like, they don't have Aaron Judge and Cody Bellinger and Giancarlo Stanton coming back. I never take teams in the American League Central seriously. Sorry, folks. I don't. They just don't win in the playoffs. And then who do you like in the West? Like, honestly, Stormy, like, one of those AL East teams is probably going to the World Series just by default. They're the 3 best teams in the league right now. I have a hard time picking anybody else.
JJ, bless your kind soul for dealing with me for the last 2 days, and especially
what did I do?
this
I did
segment,
nothing.
but
Bless you. You got to deal with me. Are you kidding me? You got to deal with me for the last 48 hours. You got to deal with dogs. You got to deal with my baby. My baby actually was on very good behavior, but come on, you got to deal with me. That's way more of a hassle.
Gonna say, dude, like, I feel like you coming on air with me for these 2 hours the last couple of days has been your break from your busy. Like, you have so much going on right now. I appreciate you, like, just taking the time to do this with us. It's been awesome.
Work's work. No, I love this. I love the VSiN crew. I love working with you. And I'll see you in the end of August, early September when you're doing a show and I'm getting off the golf course. You got a little knock on the studios at Circa.
Beautiful. For JJ, our producer, Justin Emery, Stormy Buonantony, have a great day, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. Follow the money coming up after this.